Hi, everyone. Let's see if we can get everything set up. Woo! How's everyone doing? Hair up, hair down. Hi, come on in. How's everyone doing? Gonna give everyone a minute to come in, get my hair pulled back up. Hi. Bebe Williams. Love that. Where are you hailing from, if I may ask, if you're able to chat? So excited to meet everybody. I love doing lives. Do you think it'll stay? We'll find out. Okay. Hey, Jen. So good to see you, as always. Hey, from Northern Virginia. Okay. One of my favorite midwives is in the DC area. She was doing skills and drills, Kim, with Linden Tree Midwifery. She's doing skills and drills with Augustine, too. I know they just had I don't know, I think it might have been Roanoke, though. So that's cool. Hey, girl. Hey, Jen. Hi. So we're going to let Amariee show up, too. And when she gets on here, I will add her in. Yeah. Oh, good. You love Kim. Fantastic. Wonderful. She's my favorite. I just made myself tea. So I'm going to give myself at least 5 or 10 minutes so I don't burn my mouth on live Instagram. That's no fun. So, yeah. All right. We got an awesome topic today, though. Amariee Collins is a certified professional midwife, but I'm going to let her introduce herself even more when she gets on here because this girl's got credentials for days and she has a purpose to back it up. And I am so excited. Yay. See, you know, Amariee. Hopefully it'll pop you right in. Do. Accept. There. Is it going to work? Let me see if I can grab you. Hang with us for just a second. I'm going to invite you now. Amariee, I canceled your invite and sent my own. See if that works. Hi, Crystal Payne. Is it Pena or Pena? Pena, wonderful. Hi. We're going to see if we can get Amariee in here. Last week it did take a couple tries, so don't worry if you got to close, go out, come back in. We're going to do it until we get it done because that's what Jen and I had to do too. I'm not sure why it's trying to be a poo-poo on that one. All right, it's saying you're invited, Amariee. If you want, it says you're unable to join. Okay, you know what? I'm going to try again. I'm going to invite you. Boom. Let's see if that'll help you pull in. Okay, so while we kind of navigate that, I'm going to tell you, oh, yay! Yay! Hey, girl!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad you can join us today. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, my thing says that it's having problems, but I see that I'm on. But
Okay.
yeah, go ahead and start unless it kicks me off.
Awesome. Okay, I'll do a couple of our little bit of Institute updates, and then I'm going to introduce you, and I'm going to let you go right from there so we honor everyone's time. So hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Johnston, and I am with the Pacific Birth Institute. We are Birth Working, and this is Birth Working, a weekly Wednesday series where we cover topic deep dives, we cover transport treatment and anticipatory guidance, and teach people how to do that when we need to transport from the community into the hospital setting. We do professional interviews about personal stories, birth stories, and professional paths. So we're going to hear a little bit about all of that with Amariee today. But you can find us live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard on Instagram currently. And so without further ado, I'm going to do more like housekeeping stuff later about what we have going on. I want to jump right in and say this. So everyone, I'm so grateful to have with Radical Births, Amariee Collins. She is a certified professional midwife, but so much more with such a vast mission that I would really like to take a couple of minutes and let you introduce yourself because her bio is live on the website. Please go read the bio after this interview so you can see her impact and what she's doing. But Amariee, take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. I've done a lot of things. We'll just say that. I've done a lot, been a part of a lot. As kind of my background, my family, kind of the way that we work. Like in community, you show up where you need to be at. Uh, Life is not always a straight line. For me to get to being able to catch babies at home, that was a very much so a web. And in that web, that allows me to really connect on many different levels. So I will definitely say I agree. Please go look at my bio. I don't want to take all the time up speaking about all the things that I've done. But briefly, I have a master's degree in public administration. Because my background is a scientist in biology, I wanted to do medicine all my life because that's all I was told. And I didn't like the nursing model. Have tons of family members that are nurses, RNs, LVNs, LPNs, nurse practitioners, women's health. I have all of that, and I definitely was edged to be pushed in that direction, right? But I didn't like the nursing model, and I liked the physician model a little bit better, but didn't know that there was another way until a little bit later on in life, and hence I'm a midwife now.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to find a way to put together science and healthcare and public policy, but not do it like public health, because I feel like everyone was doing public health. And I was like, I want to see how this is hitting the people. And so that's why I got a public administration degree. So I have a master's there. I went back to school after working from the Department of Treasury. I was a budget analyst. So there's a whole nother background of military and finance and management and accounting and budget. That's a whole nother life that I really hold near and dear to my heart. So anyone that knows me also knows that I'm a Black woman veteran of the United States Air Force. I wear that title proudly because there's a lot of misconceptions that come with being a veteran, and what does that look like? So it looks like this. Also, and then just moving forward a little bit, when I finished there, because of a lot of different family things, I got into diagnostic medical sonography school. So I have an associate's in that, and I have 3 different registries. So when I went into midwifery school, I actually had a very good background in healthcare and in science, A&P, physiology, had 2 babies. And so I had a little bit of experience on that end as well. So very well-rounded, right? So
Indeed, ma'am. You bring such a quality of experience to the midwifery model that has desperately been needed. And I love how you highlighted that you are exactly what a military veteran looks like in this country. And I always give good props to some of the real beautiful advancements that start in the military and then become public policy. But it's going to be because of people like you that continues to happen. And I'm so grateful to have you here. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we get into you teaching us all about, and just really talking about really the entire episode, pre-eclampsia, from this grueling personal experience to this informed provider care, and how that really has informed. So we're going to have a little of your personal to your professional impact. I do want to tell everyone, please, we're going to be doing questions and answers at the end. Pop your questions now, though. I'm going to moderate. So Amariee will be talking. I may be asking questions as we go with flow to expound on certain subjects. However, I will go back through, I will be moderating, I will be asking the questions to Amariee when it's question and answer time. So start now. This will be focused around pre-eclampsia. Just so you know, we are going to have Amariee back to talk about her pathway. So if you are a birth professional, just keep an eye out for that, because we will have a lot of time for question and answers in that episode about how she became a midwife and where she came from and all of that. Exactly. Because this is a little bit more about personal and the professional clinical care, this episode will be. but the next one will be way more about your personal and your professional path. And I'm so excited. So pop your questions below and let's just let Amariee take it away. Amariee, please. And I'll ask you questions as you want. Otherwise, I'm going to just listen for a while and hear what you have to say. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. So last pregnancy, we'll just start there. This is when I had a very, very rough pregnancy. I will say that it was rough from the go, and I knew right away when I was pregnant. So I feel like that was a very terrible thing, because as soon as I missed my cycle, I knew. I also had an Nexplanon, and I had that taken out, and I was like, oh, I have time to get pregnant. I was pregnant within a week. Okay. So no problems getting pregnant here. I know that that's a whole other issue. We could focus on that on another time, but got pregnant right away. I was in my last couple of my last year of diagnostic medical sonography school, and it was a little too early. I wanted to give birth December, January, so I wanted to get pregnant soon, but not before school was over, right? Because that's kind of crazy. And my school was becoming a sonographer was a very crazy event. So fast forward, going through the pregnancy. Even in my first pregnancy, I had sickness, all day sickness. I didn't have morning sickness. I had all day sickness in my first pregnancy for 5 months. But this one, I couldn't even drink water and keep it down. I very much so craved carbs very heavily. And so it was a different pregnancy for me. I felt, even though I was older, so my first pregnancy, I was 26. I was in good shape because I'd been out of the military at that time for about 4 years, but still in really good shape. I used to do gymnastics and running track, so I'm a petite woman. And but at 35, I'm in the gym probably 4 to 6 days a week, working out at least for 2 hours, eating really good, meal prepping. So have a really good routine down. So recently got married, took my Nexplanon out, got pregnant, going through, I couldn't work out. I was so sick that I couldn't even make it to the gym. And so that was, I feel like, the first hurdle that I had to try to get over. And then by the time that I made it to my doctor's office, because I was going to an OB-GYN, because at this point in time, I had already had a C-section. So I didn't think that I really even had the opportunity to have a vaginal birth. And only because my cervix didn't open. I had, this is some good information sidebar, but I had a cone biopsy because I had high grade dysplasia when I was 21, when I was in the military. And so they took a good chunk of my cervix out, but they put in a old fashioned stitch that they actually don't do anymore. And over the years, I've had a slew, like every other pap smear I've done has been abnormal. And a lot of times when I get my colposcopies done, a lot of the residents, because I go to the VA, come in and they get to see what it looks like because they don't do it anymore. So as a teacher, as a lifelong learner, I also teach other people about bodies, right? And of course I consented to that. I said yes. I mean, my legs are already open, my vagina is wide open, sure, come in, take a look. And they're always so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So it's also kind of weird because I'm laying down, legs up in the air. Okay, anyway, so fast forward, so I didn't think that I had the opportunity to have a VBAC, even though I did go back to the same doctor that I went to. I just thought, well, if I was going to have another C-section, I might as well go to the person that did the first one. And maybe I'll get, put back together very nicely or what have you. And so as we're going on, I started gaining 2 pounds every week. So when I would go in to the doctor, when I was doing every month, visits, prenatal visits, she was just like, what is going on? Like, this is very different from your first pregnancy. Like, you're coming in with an 8 to 10 pound gain every month. And she was just like, something's not right. And I was just like, well, I don't feel good. I was at this point taking Zofran my whole entire pregnancy up until then. So that was probably like around 5 months where she was really concerned that I had already gained about 30 pounds or so. And, you know, I didn't feel healthy. I didn't feel okay. And so we went ahead and did my, I also will say there was some stress that was going on. My mother's brother, her oldest brother, so my uncle, who is kind of like a second dad to me, had a stroke early on and was in the hospital and going back and forth almost probably 3 times a week. Along with being in school and doing clinicals at the hospitals and having to worry about passing tests and all those other things. So just a myriad of things that are going on, right? And so going forward, took my I changed up my diet, tried to start drinking more water because water made me vomit. Like anytime I drank anything that was just straight water, it made me vomit. So I started doing like half cranberry juice and half water. And then that's how I was able to kind of like up my water intake. I scream electrolytes now. I knew nothing about electrolytes then. So like so much stuff that I know now. But going forward, I took my my GTT or my 50 gram. I did the screening. Must have failed it. I don't even know what my numbers were, but they sent me straight into a dietitian. They were just like, nope, you definitely have. I failed the glucose screening. Didn't even take the 75 or 1 hour test. It was just like, nope, go straight to the dietitian. So I did that and I poked my finger 4 times a day, had a very specific diet with when I could eat carbs, when I couldn't eat carbs. And so that was controlled for the rest of my pregnancy.
Wow.
That was pretty crazy. Right before that happened, I got into a car accident and they totaled my car. It was a guy actually ran a stop sign and hit me like right in the front and then hit me again on the side. And I like went into a ditch and thank God there was not a building right there. It was an open field. There were buildings on both sides of that block, but I was like in the middle of the field when my car finally stopped. And so at that point I was like 6 months pregnant. So that was fine. Baby was fine. Went to the hospital for overview. And then I'll fast forward about a month. I am slowly swelling throughout this month. I'm able to go to the gym and work out a whole lot more, just listening to my body. At this point, I'm still in school, still doing clinicals, pushing around an ultrasound machine throughout the hospital, which is 350 pounds. So it's not thank God it's on wheels, but it's not a light machine. And then a couple of my family members passed. They were a little bit older family members. They passed and my family goes to Kansas. My mom's brothers and sisters all go up to Kansas. And then my uncle who had the stroke passes.
Wow.
And the only 2 people that were in the Houston area were me and his oldest son. And at the time I got the call, I was in Surfside Beach. So I was about an hour and a half away from Houston. And so I had to call my cousin and, ask him where he was at, ask him what he was doing before, I tell him that his father has passed, right? I can't say that to someone that's driving, right? That would, it was very sudden. Even though he had a stroke, he was expected to live for quite a while, even with that type of brain damage. So got him settled. he got to the hospital before I did. I met him up there, and we all know that there are a lot of trauma and a lot of grief and a lot of anxiety and stress that comes along with family trauma and grief and death. And so going through that process, planning the funeral, having the funeral, raising money for the funeral, it was shown, like I could see it, and my mother could see it, and other people could see that I'm just retaining a lot of water at this point. So we go home, which is in Wichita, Kansas for us. It's a 10-hour drive, 8.5, 10-hour drive, depending on traffic, from Houston up to Wichita. And at this point, I am right before 36 weeks. Get up there. I have pictures. I am just like, just Michelin man, like just very, very swollen. I can't wear shoes, so I have on like, you know, some flip-flops, the Nike really foamy ones that have the memory foam in them, and like the top of my foot is just like,
oh no,
like just all over the part that goes in between, right, the thong part.
I used to call it you're baking a loaf of bread in your shoe.
Oh my goodness, like you could touch it,
Yeah.
it's just like, just so tight. And so do the funeral, finish that, go back to the hotel. Everyone's coming over, so you know it's a good time to be with family and to be, you know, reconnect. And then his wife has an emergency, and we go upstairs and we perform CPR on her and my cousin, who also works in the medical field, and she passes. So we're working on her for 35 minutes. I'm doing chest compressions, 9 months pregnant. My cousin is doing mouth to mouth, doing the breathing until the ambulance and the fire department come. So after that, we were leaving the next morning to drive back to Houston. And I just remember, I always say Dallas is a midway point. It's not really midway. It's like 5 hours, but it's like the closest big city where we have family at that can connect. And so I told my mom and I told my husband, I was like, hey, I cannot ride in this car anymore. I was feeling terrible. I just felt uneasy. And so the whole time driving up there and driving back, I just laid down in the back seat. And my son at the time, he was so kind for me to just like put my feet in his lap while he rode back there with me. And so we stopped at my cousin's house, and I was really swollen. I just felt uneasy, but it was also some of the same stuff of just being queasy all the time, not feeling like myself, and just carrying a lot of water weight. So we stopped, and I couldn't sleep in the bed. I couldn't sleep laying down, so I slept in my cousin's recliner. And then we got home, and my mother just kept looking at me, and she just kept saying, something does not look right. Like, check your blood pressure. Because in my family, a lot of my cousins have had preeclampsia. A lot of my aunts had preeclampsia. No eclamptic seizures that I know of, but so many had been rushed to the hospital even before 36 weeks.
wow.
And so, because that didn't happen to me in my first pregnancy, it wasn't something that I did not know about, because we know about it very specifically for ultrasound. That's a lot of reasons why people come in to do certain OB scans. But I didn't think about it for me. I didn't have any of the signs and symptoms, or any of the signs for me that made me think. I never had blurry vision. I never had headaches. I have migraines. I'm a person that has migraines like almost every month. No headaches, no migraines. I definitely had swelling, even though like now pitting edema is not even on the list for preeclampsia, but I had major pitting edema. I wasn't checking my blood pressure regularly, so I wouldn't have known, but I didn't feel, and I also don't know what I'm supposed to feel like if my blood pressure is off. Like, all you ever hear about is, you know, heart attack. issues, but you never hear like what are issues and symptoms of high blood pressure. And in women's health, what I do know is that it's a silent killer. So we get home the next morning and I take my blood pressure, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was sky high.
Yeah.
And I was just like, your blood pressure machine must be wrong, Mom. And I tried to do it on my husband, but he has muscles, so his muscles are way too big for it, so it didn't read it right. And my mom's blood pressure was coming up fine, and I was just like, I'm just tired. I'm just gonna lay down on this couch. I'm gonna keep my feet up. The swelling's gonna go down, because typically the swelling would go down a little bit, not all the way, but a little bit. And I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow anyway. It is my 36-week checkup, 36 and 0. If something's wrong, I'll just deal with it then. I went in for my appointment. It was like around 3, and everything was fine. I hadn't been feeling like I was feeling anymore. I felt like myself again. I get in there, and my blood pressure was 187/96.
No.
And I looked, I was like, ooh, that is high. Okay. I was like, but I feel fine,
Yeah.
And so this was the fastest I've ever seen my doctor come into the room from me being sat into the room, right? Because, you sit, she's always late. So you get to know other people really, really well, because we're always waiting longer than when our appointment is. But she came in 5 minutes. And we took my blood pressure again, and it was like 191/87. And she was like, so go ahead and go to the hospital, get checked in. As soon as I finish clinic, I'll be over there. And I was like, okay. So me and my husband left, and I was just like, hey, the last thing I ate was a salmon salad. That can't be the last thing that I eat before I go to the hospital, because they're not going to let me eat. And I'm going to be starving here in a little bit. And like, I wasn't on a regimented diet, but like there were certain things that I was eating. And I was just like, I can't go in there and eat hospital food that has no seasoning. I'm going to go crazy. So I was like, well, we got to go home. I need to get my ID, because I can't go to the hospital without my ID, right? So I was thinking, and I was like, and let's pick up some food. So we went to one of my favorite Mediterranean spots, and I got a falafel wrap that took forever. Like, I think we waited an hour. Okay.
What? Holy, oh my God.
And I just started thinking, and we were literally 5 minutes from the hospital. I lived 7 minutes from the hospital. So it was like, go home, get my purse from the house, stop and get some falafel, and then get to the hospital. Now, why I didn't eat the falafel on the way to the hospital, don't ask. I don't know. But get to the hospital. It was almost 8 o'clock. My OB was waiting on me, and she was pissed. And I'm walking in, I'm just like, la, 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 la. And I have the falafel in my hand, and I'm getting ready to eat. And she was like, put that down. And I was like, I'm starving. And she's just like, nope. And so she sat me down. They took my blood pressure. It was 205/103.
Girl. Okay.
It was like, start the labetalol protocol. So like, they're running around doing all this stuff. I'm just like, hey, I just need to eat, y'all. I was like, if I eat, I promise I'll feel better. I didn't feel bad. They were like, do you have any headaches? Do you have any blurriness? Or you have any vision changes? Like any right upper quadrant pain? I'm like, no, I'm just hungry, and you guys are irritating the shit out of me. You won't let me eat.
Right?
And so she called the high risk doctor. Was like, we might have to take this baby right now. You can't eat anything. And I'm just like, why? And she was just like, your blood pressure is way too high. And so she called the high risk doctor. The high risk doctor asked where I was at. She was like, 36 weeks. She was just like, you don't need to take her right now, but if the labetalol protocol does work, which was labetalol through IV, right? Give her mag sulfate, give her a shot today of the steroids, give her a shot today of this, tomorrow of the steroids, and then take the baby after that. She doesn't even need to be on bed rest. She doesn't need to just stay, like the baby is fully cooked at this point. And so that was the plan. And within 10 minutes of the labetalol protocol, my blood pressure did come down. I think within those 10 minutes, they did give me a round of mag sulfate, and they did tell me what it was going to feel like. And it did. It absolutely was. It felt like I had the flu. My whole entire body was hot. My fingertips were hot. I remember my clitoris and my vagina just being hot. Like, not on fire hot, but like just whole entire, every inch of my body was just
So you're telling me you are hungry as
starving.
hell. You are hungry. You're starving.
Starving.
Now your vagina's on fire and your clit's on fire. Oh my God.
So I'm eating, I think I had 10 Jellos and I had probably 5 popsicles and probably 7 beef broths. Because I'm literally starving. I would say probably about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I was throwing up. And they said that would probably happen with, that's like one of the side effects of the mag sulfate as well.
Okay.
So about 3 hours later, I mean, I was, again, here I am starving after I've thrown up, and all I could do is drink broth, because you're not eating, right? Drink broth, try to act like I'm eating Jello, and crunch on popsicles. And I'm just like, y'all, I need to eat some breakfast. I need to eat something. My baby is hungry. It's making me sick. It's making me nauseous. And they was like, well, you can't eat anything until your doctor comes in, because we don't know what's going to happen. Blood pressure at this point is totally under control. She does come in at like 7 o'clock in the morning, tells me I can eat. So I'm able to eat. Everything goes back to normal. And, you know, I just stay in the hospital until I get my second shot. So that day was just like, just be there. We're just going to keep an eye out on your blood pressure, continue to give you labetalol through my mouth. And then there was a couple of spikes, so they added Procardia. So then I was switching from taking labetalol every 4 hours, and then the next 4 hours taking Procardia, and then the next 4 hours taking labetalol. So I did that every 24 hours. Yes, they woke me up in the middle of the night to take the medicine, to take my blood pressure. I ended up having a C-section. So that was Monday. I ended up having a C-section on Thursday morning. So I didn't even have the option to even induce to have a possible vaginal birth. And it wasn't even an option that was given to me. I would have tried it, but it wasn't an option. So needless to say, going forward, had some trauma. They took out the catheter way too early. They wanted to have me go pee. They said they had to take it out within 12 hours. So they took it out. I tried to pee. I felt like I needed to pee. I couldn't pee. The nurse left me on the toilet for an hour. She went to go like help somebody else. I had to pull the string to have someone come back and help me to the bed, because I still didn't have full filling in my legs, because I still had the epidural in. And so, yeah, so that was very tragic. A couple of hours later, I like was begging them to put a catheter in to help me pee. They would not. I was in a lot of pain. My blood pressure shot back up. I was on the postpartum floor. I was not supposed to be on the postpartum floor. I was supposed to be put back on the antepartum floor because I had preeclampsia, severe preeclampsia. And my doctor came in. She was pissed. At this point, my blood pressure was 200 over 103 or 105. They had to put tape over my incision. She was like extremely mad at that. They had to take that off. They gathered everything, put me in a wheelchair, and like got me back down like in 5 minutes, back down to the antepartum floor.
Wow.
Restarted my meds. The high risk doctor was like, you need to give her another round of mag sulfate. And I was like, I do not want this at all because I can't throw up. I can't throw up and just had a C-section. And so I was so afraid that that was going to make me, and I put it off, did not know how dangerous it was. I know now how dangerous that was because my blood pressure was still spiking and circulating like that. But I put it off, but I did it. I will say the second round of mag sulfate was very different. It did still make me hot, but I wasn't nauseated. But I also think it was because I was no longer pregnant and I could eat. I couldn't eat before, right? So so I did that again. And then I was in the hospital for 7 days after I gave birth.
Okay.
They could not keep my blood pressure down. And my blood pressure spiked between midnight and 6 a.m. every night.
Wow. Did they ever find or try to give you reasoning specific to that overnight spike?
No, I never heard anything. They never told me anything. They would always come rushing in, right? Because I had the manual, but we won't even talk about, like, you can see my hands now, right? It's thick. You can see my veins right now. Couldn't find a vein. I blew multiple veins, and I have really good veins. Like, people practice on me all the time. But I was so swollen. So that was one issue. Them trying to get blood was another issue. So I couldn't get IV meds anymore because they couldn't find a vein, and I was just like, you guys got to stop. We got to figure something else out. And so I was just taking everything by mouth at this point in time. And so because I was on the blood pressure cuff, I think it was every 30 minutes, they would rush in, like, with the team. Like, are you okay? What's going on? What's happening? And I would be knocked out to the world sleep, got in trouble for co-sleeping with the baby in the hospital bed. But I'm like, my boob is out. My boob is out. The baby is right here. Like, this is what we're doing, okay? And so they would rush in, and I'm just like, I'm asleep. What's going on? They're like, your blood pressure is sky high. And I'm just like, I feel nothing. I'm asleep. And they're just like, you gotta take this medicine right now. And so even though I was taking the labetalol and the Procardia every 4 hours, it wasn't always working through those 4 hours that it was supposed to be covering. So they took blood all the time. They definitely said that my kidneys were not working. They never said that they were failing, but they said they weren't working supposed to.
Yeah.
And my mother, thank God for her as an advocate of why I'm probably still alive today, is because she kept yelling, like, y'all have got to get this water off my baby. She is retaining water. And my OB kept saying, oh, it's because she had surgery and it's going to be like that for a while. And she was just like, nope, I have a family, both sides of my family have heart issues. And she's just like, nope, I have congestive heart failure. I'm on Lasix. Like, you need to get this water off my baby. This is not how her body is not going to handle this well. She just had surgery. She just had trauma to her body. No. And so, like, when I tell you they hated my mama, this was like one of the first times that I was just like, yes, my mama is loud. She ain't taking no for an answer. She's about to beat down everybody's door because I'm not her baby. And so, they ended up giving me some Lasix, and my swelling went down tremendously. My kidneys started working well again. It was like the turning point on day 5.
Right.
Day 5. And so I did finally get released, and I was to take my blood pressure every 4 times a day, and to take medication if the top number was ever over 120 and the bottom number was over 80 ever, and to alternate which ones that I was taking. And so I did that for 7.5 months. I would say for 4 months, it was every day.
You were needing medication to maintain under 120/80 daily for 7.5 months.
Yes.
Wow. Was there anything else? Were you able to do anything else to help besides the medication? Anything as the months went on that you found that helped you?
I wish I would have asked. I wish I would have inquired. I had no idea, and I would tell people about my story, but all we knew was to go to the doctor. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just under the care of the OB. I wish I would have reached out to Mama Afua, who was still with us at the time in Houston. But I didn't. So I was just like, I guess I got to take this medicine. I didn't even know, like just taking Cal Mag over, just making sure that I had all the vitamins and nutrients that your body needs. I didn't have any of that, right? I was still taking my prenatal. I was anemic, so I needed to continue to do that, to take iron. And yeah, I did nothing else. And I wish I would have known what I know now, because, uh, and that, which would lead me into as a midwife,
Yeah.
such different stories, right? Like there are so many things now. We know that there's a possibility that preeclampsia starts so early on, right? Preeclampsia starts at conception, that you may or may not even be able to, quote unquote, prevent it. But there are things that we can do for our clients, for our own bodies, to make sure that things are a little bit better. Whether that is if we had it before,
Mm-hmm.
things that we can start doing now, nutrition wise. If we get pregnant and didn't think we were going to get pregnant and we had preeclampsia before, start taking, baby aspirin. Start, thinking about very specific nutrients that we need. And this is like one of my favorite books that I ended up finding and reading with. She is amazing as she breaks down like all of these different nutrients that you don't even think about that have the possibility or correlation, not necessarily a causation, right, for preeclampsia. They're really trying to continue to study this because we don't know yet. We don't know the exact reason why preeclampsia happens. We do know that preeclampsia does lead us to eclampsia, right? But there are so many different reasons. And so as an ultrasound technologist, right, in my field, we're heavily studying the uterine arteries and uterine veins, and trying to see what those look like as they're going to and through the placenta and coming back through the placenta. What do those look like for women that have preeclampsia and for those that don't? And should we be doing studies, at least for those that are at a higher risk for preeclampsia, right? And unfortunately, just giving birth doesn't cure preeclampsia, right? There's no cure for it. And postpartum preeclampsia is also a silent killer. That is why a lot of people that look like me, other persons of color, indigenous folks, end up dying a lot of times in the postpartum. And if I didn't have the mom that I have, if I didn't have the husband that I had that spoke up for me, if I wasn't an advocate for myself, if I wasn't strong to be like, nope, this ain't it, I may not be here. I literally would not be here, because if they didn't listen to me, if they didn't give me the meds, if I decided, oh, I felt fine, I don't need to take this medicine, I'm not going to take my blood pressure anymore, my blood pressure would have spiked and I could have had a stroke or a heart attack, and I wouldn't be here. So I, as a person that loves humanity and loves other people, blood pressure is very important to me. As a provider, care provider, your blood pressure during pregnancy is very important to me. It's not a game to play with. It's not, oh, you're just stressed, so we're not going to worry about it. It's not, don't take your blood pressure because I don't want to scare you because it's high. We're not, that's not me as a provider. And I wish it wasn't anyone as a provider, but there are people that are out there that do that. And for me, I want us all to be safe. I want to be a safe provider for you. I want you to be safe, whether this is your first baby or your 15th baby, right? Like, you are a human, you are a mom, you are, you are you first, and then your mom, and then your wife, and you have other people that you need to be here for, and we need to keep you here, and so we need to keep you safe. So for me, there are things that I like to do is making sure that we have a really good history. There are secondary causes like liver issues and kidney issues that cause preeclampsia, right? And if we don't get a good history at the beginning of our intros to one another, we might miss some things, right? Keep talking about those things, because sometimes we don't talk about them, or things don't come up, and then, maybe halfway through the pregnancy, you're like, oh yeah, my mom did have kidney disease, or she did have kidney problems, or yeah, you know what, she just told me recently that it just jogged her memory that this did happen to her, And so we don't always remember things until sometimes we have someone close by us that's going through it. And then it jogs our memory because maybe we forgot about it. Maybe it was so traumatic that our brain hid it from us. And so we don't always remember that when we're filling out the questionnaire or we're being asked by health professionals, tell me about a time when, or is this in your family, right? And then some people, families, they don't talk about health issues. And so if you don't talk about them, you don't know if you come from a family that has a lot
of adoption. Yeah.
Or adoption, exactly. So you may not know. And so these signs, I feel like, are signs that we should really be paying attention to, making sure that we're always taking people's blood pressure, and blood sugar, right? Because there is a correlation with gestational diabetes and preeclampsia, that sometimes those two go together. I was 35. I was Black. I had gestational diabetes. I had high stress, allostatic load, anybody? Very, very high. And so you would say I was probably the prime candidate to develop preeclampsia. And if we're taking a look back 5 years ago, and we're looking at the maternal mortality rate and morbidity rate, yes, I do currently have a heart condition. Not sure if it came from pregnancy, not sure if it came from having preeclampsia, but I fit the mold for that. And so it is a lot of, what did I feel? I didn't really feel traumatized by any of my things that I went through at all. I felt like I was in the right place, which was the hospital, though I may not have had like all the informed consents of if I even had the option to have a vaginal birth, but I felt like for the most part, I was well taken care of. But it wasn't because I didn't have help. Right? They didn't listen to me by myself. I also had my mother. I also had my husband. And the times that I could speak up, I also had myself. And my son was fine at 36 weeks and 3 days. He was 6 pounds, 1 ounces. My first baby was 9 pounds. So baby was fine, ready to go home the day after I had him. He's still great to this day. He's 5, thriving. But yeah, so that's kind of.
Well, I love it. Well, I mean, I hate that it happened to you, but I love what you brought back, because the way you're tying it up with being open to receive. What I love about what you said most recently is being open to receive continued health history with your clients while you're working with them, as your trust evolves, as things relax more, as things come up. Right? Because the beautiful thing, you experienced a lot of life and a lot of loss in the time you built your son, it sounds like, right? And so understanding that one of the aspects for really good informed provider care is to leave that door open and actually to maybe ask a little bit more often, or just to think about it. So, I think about risk assessments. As a community provider, I perform risk assessment at intake, right? Are we low risk? Do you desire community birth? And are we fitting the bill? And I do it once in each trimester. And I wonder if that would be kind of a great thing to also do. Like, let's kind of touch back in on body systems, especially even to get a client back into their body as it changes. And see, like, how does it feel compared to this last time? Even if we're not doing it, and maybe health history in that way can come up as well.
Absolutely. I think if my doctor would have ever asked me, hey, what else is going on in your life? Kind of things that I talk about as a midwife when I'm having an hour-long prenatal, right? Which looks very different than the OB. Like, hey, what's going on? And I feel like just having a midwife as your healthcare provider is already a big change, right? And like what people feel like they are able to share with the midwife is so different. Like, they come in and really kind of sometimes do talk about their problems. Oh, the mother-in-law is coming in town, or, oh, we're about to go out of town, and, oh, we're moving from one house to another house. It's a very stressful time. A lot of times people will tell you. And I think if my doctor, now I normally carry a high load of stress, and the next time we meet, we will see how much stress I do carry. And so I probably wouldn't have thought that it was a big problem or a big issue, all the things that were going on. But as an OB, she probably would have been able to recognize that this 35-year-old Black woman that now has gestational diabetes is carrying a high load of stress. Maybe something could have been done preventative-wise to make a difference, rather than me just being, another client for her to see in her very, very long day, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, let's call a spade, right? You had health history with your family, right? So you should have been already on increased watch. And when we do look at efficacy of using race at all to determine care plans, it doesn't sound like it was added up correctly for the actual level of observation you did deserve because of the previous, just even your family background history, even though you didn't have it in your first pregnancy. Because again, every pregnancy that goes by, we are watching more. Why? Because time's going by too. We're not getting older, right? And 35 is not too old to have a baby. I had my first, I turned 28, I think, and I had my first at 28, like when I was 2 months into it. And then I had my second when I was almost 35. World of difference.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
World of difference. So, we're coming up on the hour, and I do want us to, we're going to probably go over with Q&A for anybody who wants to hang around, but I do want to take this time to have you shout out how people can find you and work with you if they do have to skedaddle at the hour.
Absolutely. So you can find me here on Instagram under Radical Births. It's Radical as the root or the primary root. So that is RADICLE _ births, plural, BIRTHS. Or you can find me on Facebook at Radical Midwifery, spelled the same, Radical. And I'm working on putting my website together so that way I can be reached out that way. So yeah, working that. Hopefully that'll be up by the end of this week. I don't know. So, but awesome. Those are the two ways that you can definitely find me.
And for providers who are interested, Amariee also teaches ultrasound. And so once this website's going, I'm sure we're going to see it. So follow her at Radical Births. Again, RADICLE, like the root. I love that. Births and Radical Midwifery, because she has some really great, awesome ultrasound for midwives and community birth providers. Okay, I'm gonna see what we got questions-wise here. Thanks so much, everybody. The chat's been super active. And do make sure and drop any last-minute questions. I'm gonna go up here and see what we got here. Also, right now I'll take like a minute to do some Institute updates. January is neonatal hypoglycemia month. We do have a neonatal hypoglycemia course right now for $26. It's an ebook. It is available. We also have an SBAR and 911 script. I think it's $5.99 for people who are working in birth. So doulas, birth keepers, community midwives who need to call and initiate transport. It is a call script, so you can report all your data in the way that they listen, which is always super fun. Because we want best care. And if they're speaking Latin, we're speaking Latin, even if it's choppy. Okay, we got it. We're going to work it out.
That's right.
I am trying to see. I've got lots of great commentary. Any questions, though? Yes. Oh, you're getting a lot of comments, a lot of gratitude for sharing your story. That was a lot of personal information, and it really does help us as providers to hear it from a midwife now talking about it then, because it gives us these little webs that help us really connect. Oh, I do know what you're saying, because you know what you're saying now differently than you ever did before, and having those reference points. One big question was, can you hold up that book again? Let's give a shout out to Functional Maternity. Was that Functional Maternity?
Yes, this is Sarah, and it is Functional Maternity. And I think, so she has a class that she's put out. I think she said that she's doing a second book. I think maybe, I think the second book might be more for providers. This is really good for pregnant women and doulas, birth assistants, people that aren't typically like the actual healthcare providers. But this book really brought me back to my biochemistry days, my biz days, my organic chemistry. So this brought me back to my undergrad 100%. And so remembering and realizing that, hey, when you have all this swelling, and majority of everyone is magnesium deficient, the only way to get fluid out of your body is you need magnesium, because magnesium opens the sodium potassium pump to let cells bring out fluid. So I tell people when they're like, oh, I'm just drinking water, I add some salt to my water. I'm like, no. You need anything that if you're going to be drinking and you need hydration and all you're doing is peeing because you're drinking so much water, that means you're not retaining it, you're not hydrating. You need electrolytes. Your electrolytes need to have sodium, potassium, and magnesium as a bare minimum. Those three minerals. And I'm here to say, on my page, like, I've gone through and like taken pictures of all of these different types of electrolytes, and I loved Liquid IV. It was kind of sweet. Does not have magnesium in it. Throw it out, or take magnesium with it. Magnesium in there. Take a magnesium pill when you're drinking it. Let the pill dissolve in there somehow, some way. Get some magnesium in with it. So if it has those three, you're at least hydrating your body. And everyone needs hydration. I drink at least 40 ounces of electrolytes every single day. Like, all of our bodies need it. And I feel like I am a more expensive human being than I've ever been in my life. Because these are some things I'm just like, nope, I cannot. I work better. My brain works better. When I go to the gym, my results are faster. I live a lot better life, even through birth work, if I have electrolytes. And
Absolutely. So, and that is awesome. So on the provider side, right, that we're going to be a lot more open to getting information from them for their chart and directing care throughout. Jen brings up a couple of good things here in the comments as well about, you know, providing education and guidance for what future pregnancies will look like for a client that has experienced preeclampsia it's invaluable in being available for them to contact you, whether or not they can come to you as a provider.
Can we talk about postpartum care? So
yes,
as really, just really quickly.
Go for it.
As a provider, I am also very attuned to being sure, because if I wasn't checked on, and I wasn't, my doctor didn't check on me, my mother did, okay? And I was aware because I wanted to live and I wanted to have a good life afterwards. Postpartum care for me as a midwife is going to be bar none. I am very big on education. I also know that the clients that are going to come to me are going to want to know, right? Because I'm going to give them all the choices, but I'm going to give them all the education. I want them to be very well informed. I want us to have an informed decision, evidence-based, and make some shared decision making, prenatally and postpartum. If I ever have to, or when it happens and I have to ever transfer anyone, even after the transfer, you are still my client. I am still going to be checking up on you. Checking up on someone that has postpartum preeclampsia is almost like an every other day event. I want to see,
at least.
You know, I want to see your blood pressure readings. I want you to send them to me. I need to see those. I need to see what they're doing. I need to know what you're taking, when you're taking, what you're eating, right? And then cutting out all salt is not the issue here. It's not the fix all. It is not. Look, your body needs salt. You need salt. I know the American diet is an issue, but when we're talking about pregnancy and postpartum, we're not talking about that type of salt, right? And so I think that is imperative, even for, let's say, someone that didn't develop preeclampsia and just had elevating or rising blood pressures, and maybe was like at the higher end during her labor and birth, and maybe came down through the IPP. I need to know how your blood pressure is doing. 24 hours, 48 hours, 72. Like for the first week, I want to know every week, and throughout that whole 6 weeks, because what I have seen and heard, because I'm heightened, my awareness is heightened about this, is that there have been people that are just like, randomly, let me just check my blood pressure in their 1 year postpartum period, and have found multiple elevated blood pressures. And we ended up going into their normal doctor at that point in time because they were past the 6 weeks, which I really think we should get away from. But, you know, that's my public policy, public administration pushing, right? And they go in and they are spilling protein. So they are postpartum preeclamptic, because they have all the symptoms that would be defined for postpartum, outside of it being 6 weeks. Maybe they're at 6 months and had rising elevation of their blood pressures. And so I think it is absolutely important that we educate. Thank you so much, Jen. That we absolutely educate what may happen, why we need to continue to look and check and keep an eye on our blood pressures, why we might need to do urinalysis, why I might need to send you home with some urine strips just to get like a baseline if you have any protein in your urine. I know that's not always the best way to get the levels, but it is the first sign that we need to do more for me.
Yeah. Well, and Baby Williams, I love this. What would you do differently if you were to get pregnant again? I like that you just touched on as a provider, and even if somebody's listening now that's a client that actually, or that had a preeclamptic pregnancy before, you want labs immediately. Your new provider, you want immediately to get labs done, and you want full preeclampsia labs run so that you can see the levels that your organs are operating at as soon as you're pregnant, because those variations are going to shift throughout your pregnancy. And so it's not necessarily exactly what we do differently if you were to get pregnant again, but to answer that question, Baby Williams, but definitely when you go forward for the next one. And then I will add to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, is that your kiddo?
I said, hey, BB.
Hey, BB. Oh, is that your girl? Okay, good. Well, and I think the big thing that you've highlighted a lot here is having public education. So birth working is really also public education. A lot of people who are pregnant do not understand that, yes, you need a good amount of protein to keep water inside your venous system, like to keep water in your blood and it circulating and it not getting puffy and it not falling out, right? Whether we have to go into, oh, it's the capillary bed's hardening. Not everybody needs to know that necessarily to know that in pregnancy, having electrolytes, super helpful. Everybody just try it out. I also, as a midwife, always had my clients start magnesium, and a lot of them love gummies. Fantastic. Take gummies, take liquid, take pills, whatever you can take. Do it all. But I would start them, and then as the pregnancy increased, pre-eclamptic or not, like obviously they're either way, I'd be like, let's start magnesium, and then as they got more pregnant, they would increase the dose to their own tolerance. And just because they really notice the benefits. So if I could add one midwife piece of advice is, obviously, if you can eat well and get electrolytes, great. But if you can even add magnesium gummies from the very beginning of your pregnancy so that your magnesium levels are always okay, like that you have some coming in, it may help you feel more comfy and it may help keep fluid where it's supposed to be and keep you a little more relaxed, which again could have some nice blood pressure depress, like just helping you stay lower, which again, no matter the etiology of why we have hardening, we don't want to keep messing things up. We want good oxygen perfusion and calm, deep, rhythmic breath, a relaxed nervous system, which magnesium does support throughout a pregnancy, is always a good place to start. That's cheap. That's accessible. You know, that's, yeah, go ahead.
If you know that you've had anemia, if you're still anemic, if you haven't recovered in your postpartum period, if you got pregnant right away, I would also say, you know, under supervision of a healthcare provider, starting a baby aspirin. If you have thalassemia, I'm sorry, if you have thalassemia or anything of that nature, like talking to your provider, making sure that it, you know, you're in the right place in the right time in your pregnancy to start a baby aspirin. That is also shown to be able to ensure that the perfusion of when the placenta is forming between 11 and 14 weeks, that it perfuses and adheres properly. And that there aren't any issues, right? Because the placenta is going to age and get older at some point in time anyway. And we can't do much about that part, right? Because you're getting ready to have this baby. But in the early stages, we want to do all the things, make sure that you're taking the proper iron supplements, and making sure that you are beefing up your system before you start going in, hopefully not being sick and having hyperemesis and all of those good things.
Yep, and trace minerals, yeah. So Michelle with I Love What I Doula, yes. Elements is a great one too. Magnesium. Go ahead, girl. We're gonna wrap it up anyways. I appreciate everyone's questions. Please check us out online. We got this is what I want everybody to know. Scholarship. If you are interested in our professional birth assistant training program, please either check it out and buy it. We love money for that. But we also have a scholarship program for those who cannot access it and need scholarship assistance. Please do apply for scholarship. We will have some cool stuff coming out that's going to release directly to our scholarship recipients first before the public in 2024. So whether you need it, you want to be on the early bird list, it's going to go through there. We also have an interest form for 2025, a Hawaii retreat for midwives with some suturing, community VBAC, and potentially some breech work. And so we're going to have that interest form up. We've got most people wanting Jan through March 2025. So get your interests, your time frames, what you want to do. It takes 3 minutes to complete. It's on the website. And we will get you guys, we'll let you know once we know what everybody wants and get it booked. Yeah, other than that, if you want to be a guest, We have a form as well for guest interviews. So if you'd like to talk to us and to the community about what you do, please sign up. We love to book them. Next month, we'll do neonatal hypoglycemia. We're open to bring a neonatal nurse practitioner in for that interview specifically. But we also have some other people lined up. We have a couple of student interviews lined up, so for their pathways. So again, deep dives, transport treatment, or anticipatory guidance, kind of like what we had here today. If you have personal story, professional story, birth story. I also have somebody really cool, I don't know if they're in the live right now, that does circadian rhythm work to get better sleep while you're pregnant. Hello. So we're going to be booking them. So it's going to be lots of fun. This is really about education, advocacy, and access. So every week, 1 o'clock, free interviews and education. So thank you so much. I'm Jessica Johnston with Pacific Birth Institute. Amariee Collins, certified professional midwife and all-around amazing woman with Radical Births and on Facebook at Radical Midwifery. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.